Hello Battle Cats players, my name is Chance and welcome to my guide. Today we have a fantastic episode in store for you, as this is arguably one of the more useful cats in the game. That's right, now I know a lot of you have been harboring doubts, as the past two super rare cats we've covered have been less than ideal. But now, my friends, I humbly introduce you to Hip Hop Cat. This super rare cat can be unlocked via the rare cat capsules. And as always, it is my hope that throughout the course of this video, investigating Hip Hop Cat's evolutions, performance, best use cases and strategies, as well as their talents and various other things, you can make a more informed decision as to whether or not you want to use this unit and how far you want to invest into them. Let's first start by talking about its evolutions. Starting out with Hip Hop Cat itself, whose description reads, "Flunking student from a certain dance school can be produced in masses. Flash mob, might slow red enemies." From there, after reaching level 10, it will become Dancing Flasher Cat, whose description reads, "Someone you don't want to see on the street. Dances skillfully to keep the game kid-friendly. Might slow red enemies." Definitely a very sus cat. And then at level 30, as well as spending some cat fruit and XP, it becomes Can Cat, whose description reads, "Kicked out of school for improvising performances too provocative for family shows. Sometimes it slows movements of red enemies." Overall, there really is nothing too special to say about this evolutionary tree. We will get into the cat fruits required a little bit later on, but this is the general template for all of the super rare cats. Now let's talk about Hip Hop Cat's overall performance here. Firstly, its class is considered to be a melee and a nuker unit. Melee unit being a unit with 1 to 249 range, and nukers, which typically have slow-ish attack rates, but they have extreme damage per hit. As far as pros are concerned, high overall stats for its low price, high damage per hit, and decent cost. And under cons, single target, short range, and somewhat slow attack rate and animation. Really, these trade-offs are essentially nothing when compared to the idea of a really can cat stack, for lack of a better term. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. As far as additional traits go, 40% chance to slow red enemies, 60% in its true form, and a warp blocker in true form as well. Warp blockers are just units that can't be teleported away by warping abilities that are in some stages. It's actually pretty handy to have on those particular stages, but for the most part is kind of irrelevant. Now that you have a good grasp on the general performance of Hip Hop Cat, let's take a look at some gameplay and talk about it in a little bit more detail. First and foremost, as far as cost is concerned, Chapter 1 you're looking at 450 cents, Chapter 2 675, and Chapter 3 at 900 cents. Now I know that might sound kind of expensive, but as far as actual DPS is to be concerned, Hip Hop Cat, or at least its true form for sure, can hit comparable numbers to backliners like Bahamut, which is pretty dang impressive for such a cheap unit. An interesting caveat to this cat's overall abilities is the slowing red. It's handy against some units, but it's not a staller unit. It deals too much damage for that. So if your goal is to actually stall red enemies, go with like Witch Cat or iCat or something like that, as Hip Hop Cat's just likely to blow through them anyways. This is actually one of those units that you're gonna want to really heavily invest into at really every opportunity, remaining viable at just about every portion of the game. So if you've been saving up Catseyes and you're wondering where to put them, this is not a bad unit to invest into. Where this unit especially shines is up against slower attack rate enemies. So like the SLOTH, Sunfish Jones, Le'noir are the more common examples, but really so long as they can get an attack off and there aren't any real peons around, that's gonna make really a game-changing difference for you on that stage. Just bear in mind that because it is only single target, there is a chance that instead of attacking the big bad, it'll attack one of the peons and kind of waste that attack animation cycle. As far as its true form is concerned, it really just boosts its stats even further, certainly making it one of the more easily to justify unlock. Now let's move on to some cat combos here. First up, we have Life of the Party. This is a base defense up of the small variety. It involves Groucho Cat and Dancing Flasher Cat and increases base health by 20%. I don't think these are very useful. If you can think of why, let me know down beneath, but I don't really consider these worth taking whatsoever. There are just better options, and those slots can be better used by various other units. Up next, we have Flash in the Pan. This is a knockback effect up of the small variety, involves Dancing Flasher Cat and Gentleman Cat. And this is interesting because it will increase knockback distance by 10%. In theory, you could use this to stall, but I feel like in actual practicality, the better way to use this would be to use that knockback on units with area effect and knockback, essentially allowing you to clear peons out of the way to enable either Hip Hop Cat or Can Cat or whatever to get the hit off on the big bad. And last but certainly not least, we have Feel the Dance. This is a unit defense up that we've actually talked about before. It involves Samba Cat, Hip Hop Cat, and Dancer Cat, and increases Cat's health by 10%. This is actually really good at the time you first unlock it, and these are all fairly good units in their own right as well. So if you do want a little bit more survivability and you don't quite feel like grinding for levels, this might actually be a viable option. However, it is outclassed and ultimately replaced by certain 2-star cat combos a little bit later on in the game. So while it is good in the short term, it's not a great long-term cat combo, so think about that what you will. Now let's take a look at the cat fruit required to true form Hip Hop Cat into Can Cat. You're going to need 2 purple cat fruit, which can be obtained from the growing purple level every Tuesday, 4 red cat fruit, which can be obtained from the growing red level every Wednesday, 1 blue cat fruit, which can be obtained from the growing blue level every Thursday, 1 yellow cat fruit, which can be obtained from the growing yellow level every Friday, and 1 epic cat fruit, which can be obtained from really any of the growing stages with the exception of growing strange and growing evil, at a fairly good chance, as well as the dual cyclone fights. And after you've completed an ancient curse, you get access to the growing epic level for a few hours every weekend. And you will also need 500,000 XP, which is kind of trivial. Now then, I'm just going to flash some of the pertinent charts and relevant information for Hip Hop Cat and his various evolutions on screen, while reading out the trivia pertaining to him. Firstly, Hip Hop Cat's Japanese name, Catseye, is a reference to the band Exile. Its walking animation is one of the dance moves associated with their song, Rising Sun. It's about 30 seconds into that song, and is the idle animation taken from the beginning of Choo Choo Train, about 8 seconds into that song. Hip Hop Cat's English name is inaccurate, as Exile isn't a hip-hop group. In the Battle Cats Pop, Dancing Flasher Cat and Gentleman can both have their names shortened to Flasher Cat. Can Cat was among units that were given Warp Blocker in version 6.5. And that really is all of the trivia to do with Hip Hop Cat. Now let's take a look at his talents. As far as the available talents for Can Cat are concerned, you're looking at Money Up for a cost of 75 NP, Defense Buff and Attack Buff, which respectively increase their pertinent stats by 2% per level up to 20% for an all-in NP cost of 125 each, and Move Speed Up, which increases movement speed by 1 increment per level up to 10 for a total NP cost of 125. As far as his viable talents or must-have talents are concerned, the way you're going to want to look at this is, firstly, take Money Up really before anything else. Money Up allows you to get extra cash from the various mobs and units you kill in this game, and as a result, goes a long way towards alleviating any economical issues you may be having, potentially allowing you to avoid using something like a rich cat. From there, his attack buff and his movement speed up are very important as well. His attack buff, of course, enabling him to do even more massive damage, really owning up to that nuker title. And the movement speed up will allow him to move at a rate by which he can potentially get into certain long distance enemies' blind spot and just beat the heck out of them from there. As far as the target alien is concerned, there are a couple stages where you might be able to make an argument for it, but it's definitely not a very high priority. And defense buff is kind of meh. I mean, invest into it if you feel like burning XP, but ultimately you're going to have meat shields and you're going to be spamming out these units anyways, so it shouldn't really matter that much. Now that you know what I think about Hip Hop Cat, let's show you what a lot of our other viewers think about Hip Hop Cat. And once again, if you would like to be featured in a video like these fun young individuals are, feel free to check out our community section to figure out how to do that. Ars9 says, one of the best super rare units in the game. When you first get him, he's okay, but when you unlock his true form Can Cat, he becomes important to a general lineup. Due to his uber-like damage and health, even better when you unlock his double bounty talent, and he becomes a great way to farm money early on in stages before you even strike to hit a boss. I don't use him for his slow versus red and aliens, but rather his purely insane damage, having him dealing over 100,000 damage on enemies, which is more than Bahamut Cat at level 30. And Old Reliable Cat Gamer here to weigh in as well. In the early game, he's not too good, as peon spam is more relevant. In true form, he gets a huge damage boost and gains much more relevancy for chipping down enemies. You get more options to make Can-Can Cat hit by clearing enemies. The double money talent and survivability make him really good and cheap money farmer. His slow versus red is only a nice bonus as it is too unreliable, but it can be nice. His damage is very nice and he's a great unit, definitely one of the best super rares. Bee-Eater weighing in to say, oh come on man, you know this is pain for me. And I'm freaking stupid decides to hit us with some German Wunderbar Cats. Gut 8 out of 10, which I think might actually be a little bit low for this particular cat, but I suppose it depends on what form he's in. And once again, if you would like to be featured in the video in this way, be sure to check out our community tab to figure out how to do that. And if you posted after I've done the voice work, but before I've rendered this video, I will edit it in post. And that about wraps up our video on Hip Hop Cat. If there's anything I missed, misrepresented, or neglected to put a finer point on, please feel free to put it underneath in the comments section. I really appreciate it, and so do the other people watching. And if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I really would appreciate that, and Cat God demands you do so in any case, so I don't want to make him mad. And as always, a big thanks to the already subscribed and the commenters that make this channel so worthwhile for me to commit to. And as always, I'll talk to you soon.